Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a double shot this time around. So oftentimes when I go to the thrift store, I tend to find TV boxes, and they're really cheap because, you know, they're running things like Android 4.2.2, which is very old, and they don't have a whole lot of resources built into them either. But I like to pick them up, especially when they're super cheap, because they are actually really interesting little devices. So this is called Ancloud. Of course, they prominently feature the Android symbol on this and a bunch of apps that you could install on it to turn it into a TV box. These tend to be built out of a single board sort of system, sort of like very similar to a Raspberry Pi. This one happens to have a dual core processor and I think about a gig of storage or something. 512 RAM, that sort of thing. Quite limited. But what it does is it runs sort of a modified tablet OS. So it's basically they're taking tablet technology and turning it into a TV box. And this particular processor, when I took it apart, I did take the box apart because I was having trouble with the reset button that's broken off. Anyway, I discovered that it doesn't even have a heatsink on it, and it manages its heat situation despite running video and stuff like that. So this is sort of like the interface for it. And it's very simple, as you can see. But because it's Android, it really is only limited by the apps you can install on it for an Android 4.2 operating system. So my go-to is to get rid of all the TV apps because it's not going to be on my TV, and to try and turn it into a desktop device. And believe it or not, having older Android systems is way better than having newer systems, because unless they're rooted, getting files on and off your system becomes really hard. Whereas these older systems, I can transfer files right onto my USB stick or onto my, what do you call it, these things, little mini SD card. It does come with quite a bit of I/O, so mini SD. We got my keyboard and mouse hooked up to the one USB. We've got reset button, audio out, HDMI. We have a dedicated Ethernet power and another USB. So believe it or not, that gives you the essentials of pretty much almost like a Raspberry Pi level device. Problem is, because there's no real driver support for it, I wouldn't recommend putting Linux on it. Every video or every example I've seen that runs Linux, it runs badly because it just doesn't have driver support. Not to say Linux is bad, it's just the device isn't designed for it, and there's not enough support for it to make it really run well. So my suggestion is stick with Android. And why? Well, if you don't like this interface, there's alternatives. You know, there's like Nova Launch. Come on, you can do it. There you go. Yeah, Nova Launch, or Nova Launcher, whatever you want to call this thing. Yeah, and it's pretty full-featured. You can set it up. It has like this sort of three-dimensional approach to if you installed enough apps on it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And there's the apps, of course, that I've got installed on it so far. Yeah, I just think, you know, and then you can see what's actually in each, because you can actually create up to like these 5 different windows worth of what do you call it, icons or whatever. Because of the limited storage, I mean, you're not going to put too much on this. But let's just go through some of the apps that I find are pretty good to have. So off the bat, you're going to have certain apps that you can't get rid of, like, for example, your googly stuff. And stuff you wouldn't want to get rid of, like your settings, your download, you know, folder and things like that. Those are just make sense. But yeah, you can't totally de-Google these things, but you know, you just don't use all that stuff really. But the thing that they do provide you with is a decent file manager. So when you do have a USB plugged in, you can move your files around. Now the one caveat, and so basically in this particular case, our local storage is looking like used 1.25 megabytes. So about like I say, it's about roughly a gigabyte. But, you know, with that in mind, and because it's not rooted, you tend to have to, you know, sandbox your apps, but that's fine. You can work within the sandboxed app paradigm. But yeah, you've got yourself at least a good file manager. Typically, I like to put WPS Office on the system, which allows you to, you know, have apps that are like, you know, doc, which is the Word format, that runs completely fine on this very limited system. So I went with, I think version 6 or something like that, that gives you some good functionality. And the trick is you just do any kind of editing of these apps. You just make sure you do the editing in an actual on the local storage, save the files there, and when you want to take them with you somewhere else, just move them onto a USB stick. So easily workable in a practical sense. So there you go. That's a quick demo. And this, of course, is how you close stuff. So you just kind of pull it down. You know, it's typical, like, as if you're using your finger to pull things down, like in a lot of these Android systems or even iOS, it's about swiping to shut. This is called Jota text editor. So this is a great little text editor, and yeah, you can just go typing with it. Gives you all the basics, these functions: save, redo, undo, copy, paste, cut, paste, quit. Yeah, works great. Open source, no problems. Great kind of interface. If you are someone who wants to take it to the next level, you can install this, which is called Terminal IDE, which gives you more or less a Linux terminal, and it gives you all the basic command options you can use, almost as if you're running a terminal in Linux. Little too complicated to get into, but we'll just leave it at that. So the things I like to do is I like to be able to do, like, to read ebooks. So there's this app, and it's opened up a text file that I had. So essentially I was testing out Python, and I thought, oh, let's see if it opens a text file. It does. So that's an example of that particular app. So let's get out of this using a different keystroke. We can. Come on. The things you do with 2 fingers. There we go. Kind of harder for me to do this kind of stuff while I'm using my phone. The beauty of having this keyboard, which is, basically a standard, Logitech keyboard, is it gives you a lot of flexibility. All right, and the last thing I wanted to show you is this, which is very cool. This is a QPython3, which gives you a sort of a standard editor. It gives you a console to, work with Python, which is very cool. And you can, do your sort of your programming if you want like that interactive mode. Or what I found really good about it is once you write a program, because that's ultimately what you usually do, you can click on this and run it. And it gives you an opportunity to run your scripts, which is really cool because for me, like what I find is sometimes you can run a script in Python can be a bit of a pain in the ass for a lot of systems, but the way they've done it here, it's perfect. It's like so convenient. And this is like Android 4.2.2. So I find this whole thing super, super cool. And yeah, I don't know. I just find this kind of thing to be quite amazing when you're dealing with such limited resources running from a TV box. So that's my little blurb. Like I said, I haven't even scratched the surface of these boxes. And now that I got a couple more power supplies, I'll be able to run them. And apparently you can run them like through a, through a router, create a cluster network sort of these things, and you can do all kinds of stuff with them. So they become like some of the most simplest and awesome ways to experiment with the Android/Linux systems. Because of all this support they had for apps, because people wrote a lot of apps for the Android 4 OS. So anyway, guys, that's my little blurb about this guy. Hope you're having a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.